Okay, so this is the correlation example on page 96. Relatively simple example here. It's just a very simple command. Let's load in the data. And I also added the second data set we used in this chapter just to give you another example. Okay, so we've loaded in the growth value data. I'm sure you've seen this enough times already, but let's just, again, we've got a column for growth, we've got a column for value, and we have a column for year. We want to see if based on the year, there's a correlation between the performance of the growth funds and of the value funds. I'm going to suspect that there is going to be a correlation, positive correlation, because generally if the stock market's doing well, then both types of funds should be doing well. It won't be perfect because there may be periods where value funds do much better than growth funds and vice versa, but there should really be a correlation between the two. Let's just do, we've not done a help function for a while. Let's just do help and core. And we can look at the core. And we can actually get the covariance here. We can use a core correlation. We can actually have, we're just getting the correlation between the columns of the data frame, but we can actually look for kind of correlations between two different data frames by passing a second one. Why? Basically, we don't have any missing data here. So use everything basically means that we'll just use all the data, but we could all, for example, just do pairwise complete obs, which means if we've got a pair of correlations between two variables, we only calculate it when both of those variables are not an A. So we're going to, for the actual exercise, we're going to play around with correlations on some slightly larger data sets than this. Anyway, let's look at the results. As expected, there's a correlation, and this is symmetric. The correlation between growth and value should be the correlation between value and growth. It's about 0.667, which is a pretty strong correlation. There's like very small correlations between year and growth and year and value. That's just saying over the course of the data set, towards the end, the stock performance wasn't quite as good as it was towards the beginning. There's a negative correlation between growth and value, but that's pretty insignificant there. So the main one is you see we get a matrix back and we get the correlation between each of the variables that was included in the data frame. So let's open up the online data again. So we want to see if there's, this is the e-commerce spending for clothing, health, tech, and MISC for different consumers. Some are female and some are male. Let's just see if there's a correlation between the types of spending. So we want the columns 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we'll get correlations between those. Oh, let me go back to 3.8. And all I've done is core my data, 3 to 6. And there we go. So we see there's a positive correlation, a very small positive correlation between clothing and health, not much. But there's actually kind of quite a strong negative correlation between clothes spending and tech spending. We have correlations of about 0.2 between miscellaneous and clothing and health, and negative 0.2 between tech and miscellaneous. I'd also note the correlation of any variable with itself is perfectly correlated. That correlation is 1. So the biggest correlation here, I recall when we look back at it, there was more clothing spending for female consumers and more tech spending for male consumers. It seems to be, and again, this was a generated data set, it seems to be there's a slight negative correlation there, that people who spend more on clothing spend less on tech. And so we have a kind of moderate correlation here of minus 0.43. Okay, that's correlations, and I am going to add a little more, kind of a more advanced exercise for correlations and correlation charts.